Practically all musculoskeletal pain can be attributed to two different variables. On one hand, we have joint mobility, and then on the other, we have joint stability. Depending on what you choose to do physically, these variables will change over time. And it's different for every individual. For example, imagine a yoga instructor. They will likely have a lot of joint mobility versus a bodybuilder. They will likely have significantly less joint mobility, but they will have a lot more stability. So here's a scale of mobility versus stability. Now, something to keep in mind is there is no perfect sweet spot right in the middle. There's no sweet spot because the degree of stability and mobility that your body needs is dependent on whatever you demand of your body. For example, the bodybuilder needs a lot more stability versus the yoga instructor needs a lot more mobility to do what they choose to do. Now, the issue is when you have a yoga instructor who ends up somewhere on this end of the extreme, where they're very mobile, but they're lacking any sort of stability. And then on the same note, you have a bodybuilder who ends up way over here, very tight, very strong, but they can't really move their body in an effective way. So, in either scenario, you're asking for trouble, likely an injury down the road. Now let's apply that to a everyday life activity. So take our yoga instructor, they go and help their friend move. Now, in the process of moving, there's always a lot of heavy things that need to be moved. So the yoga instructor has no issue getting into the correct position in terms of technique. What they lack is the strength to actually lift the box or whatever without some sort of compensation. So then they end up hurting their back. Now, they can stretch their back all they want. It might make it feel better, but it's never going to fix the underlying issue, which is that they weren't strong enough to complete the movement. Now, take our bodybuilder friend. Say they're walking around the house trying to pick up after the kids. They continue to bend down, pick up toys here and there, and then they end up hurting their back. The issue here is because they weren't flexible enough to reach down to the floor without some sort of compensation, they ended up tweaking the back. Now, similarly, if they try and strengthen as much as possible, it's not necessarily going to fix the underlying issue, which is that they were not flexible enough to perform that motion without compensation. So, the yoga instructor needs more stability, the bodybuilder needs more flexibility. Bottom line, strength without flexibility is basically worthless, and then on the flip side, flexibility without strength is equally worthless. If you are having a lot of pain and you find yourself identifying with one or the other, I would start with whatever that individual needed. Now, keep in mind that every single joint can be different. For example, the hip could be very stable, lacking mobility, while the knee could be very flexible but lacking stability. So it's different for every single joint. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, I would appreciate it if you could hit the like button. Otherwise, if you want to subscribe, my channel is all about how we can build a physical body that will last throughout all of our life.